anyone can become now. Today we are talking with the, I always mess it up, with the, come on, help me out, Tommy. I always mess it up. Not New York Times, Wall Street Journal best-selling author in USA Today, Tommy Breedlove, about becoming truly legendary. Tommy wrote the playbook. He can help you in areas of self-development, mindset mastery, relationship building, business leaderships, and everything in between. And so if you are right now going through whatever it is that you're going through with corona, with the virus, with your business, with your career, with your family, with your relationship, this is the show for you. You want to hop on in because we're going to have a live face-to-face conversation with Tommy right after this little intro. Welcome everyone to I'm That Geek Show. I'm your host Yifat Cohen, and today I have with me my good friend Tommy Breedlove. Hey Tommy, how are you?
Hey, Yifat, how are you? And I'm That Geek Audience. Psyched to be here.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for having. Thanks for being here. This is fantastic. I think we are in such an important time right now where everybody's emotions are, mixed up, and a lot of people just don't know what to do. Right? They might be stuck in helplessness. They might be stuck in opportunity. They might be seeing a lot of people going through so many things that I'm not doing enough, which is me. So, and other people are like, I don't know what to do. So you wrote the playbook on how to become legendary. Can you just share, how did you even come up with that idea, becoming legendary?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the reason we came up with the word legendary is that in a world of constant self promotion where everybody's Instagram or media or Facebook fabulous, and we're all like, hey, see the best me.
Right?
Legendary is something that if you and I or anyone else gave the title to themselves, people would laugh us out of the room.
That's right.
And so, what I love about being known and remembered as a legend, and hopefully you'll be known for that during your lifetime, is it's something that society, our peers, our friends, our colleagues, and our network gives to us. And we can either be an amazing legend or a really bad legend. And it has nothing to do with being rich or famous or curing cancer or being able to play basketball. It has to do with how you make people feel, how you serve, how you lead, how you make impact, and ultimately how you leave this world and the people you touch a little bit better than you found them. And so this playbook, this is something that literally saved and changed my life at 36 years old. And then when I started actually doing relationship mindset, business, and money coaching, I saw it change just hundreds and hundreds of lives. And I was like, there is something to this, and there's a formula to this. So we put together this simple, quick, readable action steps. It's simple action steps with great stories and the results that you get in all facets of your life, from finding your purpose to conquering your time to building financial confidence in your mind, in your mindset, but also the soft skills like building your network and developing unconditional love for yourself, mastering that mindset, which is very important right now. We all have those demons in our head that says we're
Right.
not good enough. And finally, and most important, is developing intimate relationships with your friends, your family, and most importantly, your significant other. So it's a powerful book. It's one of those things that I think that's needed right now and not a luxury.
Yeah.
And so I'm super proud that my book Legendary has become a USA Today and Wall Street best-selling book. It's really
I
humbling.
apologize
Actually,
for
it's
always
humbling.
messing it up. I have one word in my mind. So actually, one of the questions that I want to ask you is exactly about that, right? Like you're saying, if we were calling ourselves legendary, we'll be laughed at, and it's very easy to go into groups and try to offer value and be taken like, oh, you're a show off, you're self-promoting, you are, spamming us with information. So I think there's a fine line between really helping people, right, and coming out as an asshole. And sometimes we don't know what that fine line is, especially in new groups. So how would someone, try to present themselves as everything that they have, right? Let their light shine, be very helpful, but not come across as like, oh, you're just a self-promoting a-hole and get out of here.
Well, the truth is, we have to promote ourselves because if we don't promote ourselves, no one's going to promote us. And especially those of us who have value to bring to the world. I mean, if you're just doing it, so the real question is, are you doing it for the money? Are you doing it for the fame? Are you doing it for impact? And so, between you, me, and the walls, and whoever's listening, I really don't care what other people think. I'm being very serious about that. I'm not trying to hurt people. I don't, but people have their own insecurities, their own needs, desires. And at the end of the day, they're really not thinking about us anyway. And anyone who's judging themselves, judging us, is truly judging themselves. So, to me, it begins with your why. Are you here to serve? Are you here to make impact? Are you here just to be rich and famous? And so, for me, when I'm looking at, I think you just need to promote yourself. You need to be authentic. You need to be transparent. You need to be vulnerable. You just need to be you, because whoever you are, if you truly do provide value to some pain that's needed in society, you will find your tribe. You will find people you speak to. And here's the important thing with whoever you hire. I don't look at the degrees and the credentials, and we all have them. I look
Right.
at what they've been through, where they've gone, what pains they've had, how they've come through the other side, and have they been there in the trenches for whatever they're saying they're doing. That's what I look for in my people. But for those of you out there, you have to have self-confidence, self-belief, and self-respect. Otherwise, no one's going to buy from you. And so many people right now, as we record this, we're right in the middle of COVID. The world needs you to sell right now because you have a value to the world. Go out there and sell it, and people value what they pay for. And you're not serving anybody if you're not serving yourselves. And there's no good if you're broke because if you're giving everything away. Why would you do that? And so I'm a
Right.
firm believer in that.
And so let's dive into the specific, right? Someone is feeling helpless. They lost their job. There's no electricity in the house. Paul and I were just talking about this the other day. I was, at the beginning of COVID, I'm sitting here going like, come on, people, there's so much information. People giving away courses for free. How come you're not elevating yourself, right? And then I have a conversation with a friend of mine who's a teacher, and she's sharing that there are kids who can't go on Zoom and have the Zoom interaction classes because the mom is a single mom and there's no electricity in the house, or nobody speaks English in the house, or there are 14 people right now in the house and because some people lost a job and they moved in, like all kinds of stuff that I'm like, you know what? I, I take back everything I said about people being lazy and not actually elevating themselves, because in those situations, I have no solution. So if someone is in that kind of like mindset of like, there's no job, there's no electricity, I don't speak English, I don't even know how to press the button, right? All I know is like scrolling on my phone. What's the first step that they can take in order to, you know what, I can do something different. There's more in me and can become more, and this is a good time to become more.
So what I would say to that, and I'm going to be very clear what I would say because this could come across harsh. You're taking it from someone who's had to pawn his car earlier in his life because he was so broke in order to get that car fixed so he could get to a $6 an hour factory job at one time in my life. And so I've been there. I've been at the bottom of the rung when it comes to money. And so you said it best. So here's the truth: 99%, if not 99.5% of all people in the United States have a cell phone.
Yeah.
And so if you really want to, whether it's listening to something, YouTubing something, if you really want to change your situation, times are tough right now. People are suffering. People have lost their jobs. I think 20 something million people have lost their job.
Yeah.
But the truth is, depending on how low you are and how much you're struggling, you've got to go find the nearest mirror and look into it. And you got to say, do I have a burning desire, a want, and a need to have something, be something, and do something different? And nothing easy comes overnight. It all takes a lot of hard work, but there's all sorts of free resources. And I guarantee you 99% of those people you're talking about also have TV.
Yeah.
And so it's
and,
just true.
and
I mean,
an
it's just true.
Xbox, right? And an
Yeah, it's
Xbox
just
and a
true.
PlayStation and
So
yeah.
wealthy people and poor people have the same 24 hours in a day. The struggle is real. The insecurity is real. The fear is real. The pain is real. And the circumstances are very real. And I'm not diminishing any of that. But there has to truly be there's got to be, you can't blame society. You can't blame the pandemic. At a certain point, we've got to man and woman up and look in the mirror and hold ourselves accountable to our situations. And what have we done differently in our lives? And you've got to start with baby steps. I mean, you look at the mountain you have to climb, especially I've been there. I've
Yeah.
been at the bottom of the bottom, and the mountain looks very steep. And then you start comparing and contrasting, and it's easy to fall into victimhood or martyrhood or even blame. And that's a very dangerous place to be. But if you truly want burning desire for change, there's so many things. If you have a phone, you have access to a TV. And if you have a phone, you can do a hotspot.
Yeah.
But you can always invest in yourself, whether it's listening, learning, watching. If you don't have financial confidence or you don't understand money or tools, now's the time. There's so many free resources out there. If you're feeling fearful or angry or resentment, or you feel like you're not in control of your thoughts, and all of us struggle from that. All of us have those demons, insecurities, that voice in our head that says we're not good enough. We all have it.
Yeah.
It's just what we do to mitigate that voice. All of us have a problem with unconditional love, respect, and self-confidence for ourselves. There's all of these tools, resources out there, but there is no white horse. There's no magic pill. No one's coming to save you. And if you wait on the government to save us, all of us, and I'm talking to me too, you're crazy. They're up for themselves. They're not going to save anybody.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, it comes down to burning desire. It comes down to self-accountability, and it comes down to daily baby steps. Don't change 25 things, because change is hard. And I'm telling you, change is scary for everybody. And right now we feel a lack of control, right? So that makes change even harder. But take a small baby step every single day to be a little bit better than you were yesterday, whether it's your mindset, your money, your self-respect, your self-confidence, your network, managing your time. Because again, no one has 24 hours more than anyone else. But we've got to do something different. We've got to make some effort every single day just to be a little bit better. And it can start with 10 minutes or less. But if you do that over time, it has a compounding effect. And 365 days from now, and it's not if this thing's going to pass, it's when this too shall pass, is that you will be better than you were yesterday, but you have to participate in your own rescue and invest in yourself.
I love it. I love it. It's true. It's very true. And I've been blamed to being harsh as well for saying exactly the same thing, right?
Yeah,
And
it's legit.
and okay, so let's talk about, like, specifically, you were a little bit of your story. You were in the bottom of the hill. While you're there, right? It's kind of like you're telling yourself the stories, and there's these thoughts that are going on in your head. And then at one moment, I'm assuming you probably go like, okay, enough, right? And then you change something. So tell me about that transition. Like, how did you move from like, I'm helpless, I don't know if you felt helpless, but like, this is where I am right now, there's nothing good is going to come out of it, into slowly actually participating in your own rescue?
Yeah, I think I was extremely hungry. And so for me, initially, it was about survival. It was about putting food on my plate, keeping the electricity on, keeping my job, and making enough money. And so what I did is I just had to work hard. And so I went to work for this nuclear waste container factory.
Wow.
Because when you're in survival mode, when you're worried about food and light and shelter and safety, that's all you're concentrating on. It's really not the time. I wish I would have, but I didn't. I didn't do the deep work on my mental and emotional fortress until later in life. But during that time, I decided to go to work and work in a very hard job. And I took out a bunch of debt, putting myself through community college at night. So I would literally get up at 4 a.m. and drive my 1991 Topaz 40 minutes away to this factory, work there for 9 hours a day, shower, go to community college at night, get home really late, rinse and repeat, and do the same thing over and over.
Wow.
And there was times I didn't know how I was going to make it. But for me, it was about getting myself out of that situation. For me, that looked like community college, because that's all I knew. And that's what I was doing at night. And during the day, I was working. So first of all, you have to tend to your needs. You have to tend to your family. If that's 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, whatever you got to do to be survival. But then there's always time in the day, whether it's a lunch break, a 15-minute break, to do just a little bit of work to be a little bit better. And there's so many great examples of people who worked on their mental fortress, their emotional fortress, their financial fortress, their physical fortress, and helped develop schools, whether they read or they just watched YouTubes. There's all sorts of things that you can do to get yourself out of your situation. But the first thing you got to do is take care of yourself. And anytime you start depending on the society or anyone else, it can get very difficult. And so to me, it starts with getting your basic survival needs done and then moving forward from there.
So, you just said something really important, because one of my questions while you were talking was, how is he being aware? Like, your environment is very impactful. So if you're surrounded by people who are not supportive and don't have the same dreams that you do, it's extremely difficult to be something else. And we've talked about it, I believe, Paul and I, where you sometimes you have to leave these people behind, right? When you elevate to a different level, it's hard, right? Like people will judge you. Oh, all of a sudden you're an athlete, right? All of a sudden you're running all day long. And what about us? Why don't you watch a movie with us? Why don't you come on and, you know, like we used to do these things now and you're deciding to do something else. How dare you? And so a lot of people, it's difficult to think about, well, I need to leave people behind if I want to become a different version of myself. So you went to books and YouTube to get that support, or did you have a support circle around you that said, hey, this is the friends I want to be with?
So I did not have YouTube. We didn't even have,
No,
I didn't
YouTube.
have, I'm 46 years old, so I definitely didn't have YouTube back then. And so I don't remember when I actually got my first cell phone, but it was a while back. But for me, so that's a great point you make. And this is going to sound harsh, but pain likes pain, and people like to surround themselves with people like them.
Yeah.
And so once you start wanting to be better, do better, become better, you're going to do the hard work for yourself. And unfortunately, it doesn't mean you don't love them, doesn't mean you don't want the best for them. But if they're not doing any of the same work you're doing, eventually you're going to have to move on from them. Again, doesn't mean you love them. And lazy likes lazy, apathy likes lazy, entitlement likes entitlement. So unfortunately, yes. And I still do it to this day. I have what I call an inner circle and friendship purge about once a year. And I know that sounds harsh, but I have to ask myself, and I have this saying, is a friendship a hell yes or a no? And I actually apply that to my family as well. And if it's not an immediate hits your heart hell yes, then chances are there's something in you that doesn't resonate with you, or you're just going in a different direction, or you don't have the same value systems. But for me, it was very difficult. I grew up in and around violence and abuse, and I became violence and abuse.
Oh,
And
wow.
so the reason I was put in my situation is at 18, I committed a violent crime and ended up looking at 7 years in prison and
Oh,
actually
wow.
spent my 19th birthday incarcerated. So it was imperative for me to get rid of the negative people, the negative forces, the negative influences in my life so that I could better myself. But I didn't have any time for friendships, playing, Xbox, movies, because I literally was working and going to school at night, working and going to school at night. And eventually I was lucky, and I was taking out debt for that school. And eventually, once I had my grades up, and luckily, by the grace of God, those felonies were dropped to misdemeanors. I ended up at the University of Georgia, where I quit work, but I was financing everything I did, from how I lived to what I ate. But I plugged so deep into school and extracurriculars and honor societies and business fraternities just because I knew I didn't want to be poor like that anymore. And to B, I didn't ever want to go back to that jail cell. So what's amazing as you start doing the work, it wasn't until later in life that I actually started doing the deep work, the internal work of self-confidence, self-love, self-respect, mastering your mindset. That's the stuff we talk about in my book, Legendary. But during that time, it was just about survival. It was just about being a little bit better than I was yesterday. And it was literally about putting food on my plate and doing the best I could to support myself. And I'm proud to say I was the first person ever in my family to graduate college.
Wow, that is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank
Um,
you.
we have Stuart watching us. He says it's 4 a.m. in Australia. I just woke up. I
Woo-hoo.
was scrolling through my feed and I found this. And he said, all of a sudden, I too went from being on welfare to being the boss of my own empire. Yeah. And he's like, I did manage to escape jail. And now he's asking, did you develop a meth addiction like I did?
No, I thank God I didn't. I developed a violence addiction, and so I grew up. I don't know if Stuart, you heard this or not, but I grew up in and around pretty extreme in violence and abuse, especially inside the home and somewhat on the street and outside the home. But for me, my mistake was I became, and I'll actually go a little step further. For me, I became what I hated, and I became that violence, and so I committed that violent crime. But let's fast forward to when I was 36 years old. So I'm like you, brother. Because I didn't deal with any of my wounds or demons and insecurities and fears and mistakes in my past, I found myself at 36 years old, literally at the top of the ivory tower, corner, top floor, corner office, fancy cufflinks, watch, suit, car, pretty woman on my side, making a lot of money, title, fame, respect. And I was so effing miserable.
Hmm.
And so I turned to everything darkness. When the money, the power, the prestige, the fame, when it didn't fill me up, I literally turned to everything else, from drugs to women to porn to strip clubs to alcohol to you name it, man. I mean, I could, the list, that's like Mary Poppins. The list gets deeper. It gets real deeper. And
So
so
if anyone kind of like wondering what kind of drug I should go to, hey Tommy.
yeah, I'm not going to get, I try not to give a playbook to go to the darkness. But literally, I found myself at 36 years old, principal at one of the largest financial firms in the Southeast United States. I woke up in a ditch. And at
Wow.
that moment, and here's the important moment, this is where I started doing the deep work emotionally, building that self love, self confidence, self respect, mentally, becoming the master of my mindset to eliminate those demons, but also practicing deep forgiveness for myself, for others, for the things that I've done and things that have been done to me. And at 36 years old, and now I'm 46, I literally have made me my full time job, my mental fortress, my emotional fortress, my spiritual fortress, so that I can go lead my companies, so that I can lead myself, so that I can lead my family, my people, to be the best person that I can possibly be. And so I didn't do that deep work until 36. And I'm telling you, from life to love to relationships to network to business success, since I've started working on me and really doing the deep work, my life is 100x better than it was even at 36 when I was making a lot of money. So that's me being very transparent about the journey that I've taken through my life.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people watching you and resonating with everything you've gone through, you know, in different levels. I think we're all kind of been there. So let's talk a little bit about self-acceptance and self-love. Um, the stories that we tell ourselves, right? The way that we think society is looking at us. I'm not enough. I'll never be enough. I'm not worthy of love. How do you move from that into like self-love, self-acceptance, you know, putting a fortress around yourself that can really protect you and, you know, and be nice.
Yeah, the truth is it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so the first thing is admitting it. And so I think we've done a really poor job, and that's why people like you and me and so many other people are carrying the torch, is we're literally giving the gift of going second to other people. When we're raw and honest that, yeah, I used to hate myself. I used to have these voices in my head, and I was wondering, what if they figured out I didn't know what I was doing? Or what if they figured out my deepest, darkest desires? Or what if they knew my mistakes and my fears? And you know what? Every single human being on earth struggles from self-confidence, self-respect,
Yeah.
self-love. We all have that ridiculous voice in my head that just pisses us off every day. I call it Ike. I've actually named that dude. And so the first thing is acceptance and realizing we're not alone. We all have it. Okay, so now we've admitted it. Now let's be right. Let's not be Instagram fabulous or fake Facebook. We're real humans with real pains, and by the way, we're all going to die. Okay, so now now we've got that. The second thing is, as you said it first, is first of all we got to surround ourselves with people who believe in us, people who love us, and people who want us to grow and be better. And we've got to surround ourselves with people who are going to be better. The
Okay,
second
so
thing
wait,
is
wait,
it
wait.
take
Let me pause you right there. What if, you know, my environment just sucks? It's toxic, right? I don't feel you have to like you saying surround yourself with people who love you. What if you don't feel loved by these people? Like you said, right? It starts from within, right? That love from within. So, you know, life sucks.
First
I'm in
thing I
a
would say
different
is you got to
country.
fire all them. We've got to fire all them.
Fire them
We've got
all.
to fire our friends. I did that. I actually have purged twice in my life. Once when I was 18, when I was running with that crowd, and the second at 36, where I was running with those alpha Wolf of Wall Street type guys. I had to get them out of my life because, you know, I was drawn to their darkness, and dark attracts dark, and light attracts light. But you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. We have to do the hard work. And there's a lot of different steps you can take. The first thing, it comes to forgiveness, and there's a whole set of skills and tools. We've got to learn to forgive ourselves for the things that we've done, mistakes we've made, and we've all made them, some big ones, some small ones. The second thing is we've got to learn to forgive others, and that's super critical important. The second thing is we've got to learn how to be present, not constantly thinking about the future or regretting the past. The third thing is we've got to switch ourselves from fear, scarcity, judgment, anger, cynicism to a place of love, gratitude, acceptance. So there's formal things you can do, from meditation practices, forgiveness practices, gratitude practices, who you surround yourself with. But at the end of the day, it's just like going to the gym. You're not going to have big, strong muscles if you go to the gym once a week or even once a month. So the work that we have to do,
Why
seriously,
not, Tommy? Why not?
I wish, right? And it's hard work.
Like,
Same
can I
thing
not
goes
just
with
wake up in the morning and, like, you know, be what's her name, Angelina Jolie or Jessica Rabbit? I want to be
yeah,
Jessica Rabbit.
But even Jessica Rabbit, who's not real, works her ass off to look that way. I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. Nobody looks that way or becomes that way. There's no such thing as an overnight success. You know, you
Yep.
talk about,
That's
I
true.
mean, they spent 36 years working on themselves to get that way, or
Yep.
46 or 56 or 66, wherever long it takes. But the truth is you got to get up and you got to go to the mental gym. You got to go to the emotional gym. You got to go to the spiritual gym and the physical gym. We've got to build that fortress, because it's not if life happens, it's when. And suffering happens. The whole world's going through suffering right now. But if we stand on our reputation, our work, our friendships, our shiny things, our jobs, all of that can be taken away from us like that.
Yep.
So what we've got to do is we've got to build that unconditional love, that self-confidence, that self-respect. We've got to do the best we can at minimizing that noise in our camp. And that all comes with exercising our brains, our hearts, and our souls every single day. And that's what my book, Legendary, talks about. It gives you the very specific, simple skills to do all of those things: financial confidence, financial mindset, discovering your purpose, reconquering your time, unconditional love, more intimacy in your relationships and your friendships. Because I think we haven't done a good job in society of giving people simple steps, encouragement, accountability, and tools so that they can move their lives further in a simple way. But it does take, and I just got to say this, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Nothing in life is easy. I mean, that's just the truth.
Yeah. Guys, if you guys want to join the conversation, hop on in. I'm thatgeek.com/live. Right below the video, you'll see a button. Hop on in and you can be part of the conversation. Lisa is saying, Lisa Patrick, thanks for being here. She goes like, hard work and commitment. You have to be consistent, right? And persistent with your goals. And you have to have the courage to live up to your frequency of greatness. That makes me remember is it a poem or a song or something where someone said, you know, we're not afraid of the dark, like how lousy we are. We're afraid of how bright we shine, and that light is gonna blind other people. And then what are they gonna say about us? So you did,
first of all,
yeah,
Lisa Patrick's, that's awesome. I couldn't have said that any better myself. So I'm like, oh, that was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, so, living in gratitude, it's something that I hear a lot of people say, that it completely reverses your life and changes your life. And instead of like, oh, I don't yet have XYZ, I was like, wow, thanks so much for having fast internet. Thanks so much for having like a good computer and a safe place to be in, right? Like the reframe that we can do with I'm stuck at home to like I'm safe at home. All these little things that can kind of make you feel a little better. You have that on one side, and then you have the other side of the woo-woo where a lot of people saying like, okay, a kid starving in Africa, he just needs to start thinking positively and everything is going to change, right? So there's a play there, if you will, right? Of some of the circumstances that are happening and some of the stuff that's internal that you're bringing about and changing your life. And you are a great example of someone who was in such bad circumstances and with the mind game, right? Not really a game, but like with working on your mind and your spirit and your inner game, you were able to change your outside to fit your inside. And like you're saying, it takes a lot of time. I think a lot of people are like quitting right before it's over, right? So what kept you through that journey where you're like, you know what? It's worth it. I'm not seeing it yet, but I'm gonna get there, and I trust that I'll get there, and I just need to keep on meditating or practicing or being in gratitude. How did you manage to consistently do that?
It started with the way I felt. And so you got to remember, whether it was 18 when I committed that crime and was sentenced to I spent my 19th birthday incarcerated, or when I was 36 and realized that all these external shining things weren't going to fill that void I had inside and fulfill me and ultimately make me happy. And let me just say this real quick. I am a firm believer that if you're a very impactful person and want to do great things in the world, money is super important. And I want you to make as much as your heart desires so that you can go make that impact in the world. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of all things financial confidence, financial mindset, and money. However, if you're an asshole, it's just going to magnify that assholeness. Yeah. And so that's the truth. And if you're unhappy, you're angry, you're judgmental, you're cynic, and you're constantly being a critic in the world, that's just going to magnify that too. For me, it started with a feeling. When I started meditating, when I started reading, it was literally like drinking from a fire hose. When I started practicing forgiveness, and I have very strict formal practices for forgiveness and gratitude that I do every single day. When I started practicing those, and I started doing a little bit of exercise, the way I felt physically, mentally, and emotionally, it was like night and day where I was before. And the most amazing things, it was a gut feeling, it was a physical feeling, it was an emotional feeling, it was a peace of mind. And it started slowly, but even that little first 1 degree of change felt so exponentially better than the way I was before, when I was angry and mad and scared and judging. And when I started practicing gratitude and started writing down the things I was actually grateful for, or during the day when I found myself getting overwhelmed, stressed, or angry, I would switch and just take a deep breath and look around and find something I was grateful for. The rewiring that happens in your heart and soul, it feels so much better. And then the most amazing thing happens, from your friendships to your money to your success to your happiness to your peace of mind to your fulfillment to love to sex. It's kind of crazy. The more you spend in light, the more you spend in service, the more you spend time working on yourself. And I'm talking about that inner game, that mental and spiritual fortress, that physical fortress, that emotional. It's a compounding effect. And the daily exercises, the daily routine, in 365 days from now. Now I'm almost 10 years into this journey. And what I thought was a lot of money and a lot of peace of mind and a lot of happiness and a lot of success, where I was in the financial world, is 1,000x different than when it was then. And so it's like attracts like. And here's the thing: when you start this journey, and maybe this will help people understand a little better, you're literally climbing a mountain, and your view changes. The way you look at the world changes, the way you see the world, the way you want to step in, the way you want to make impact. And 99% of the world's going to still be standing on the ground. They can't see what you can. And eventually you don't want to see what they see. So you start changing your friends. You start changing the people you surround ourselves with. You start changing your community. And eventually it gets so bad, and this is going to sound sad, you can still understand the words they're saying. You just don't want to hear them. And they can't understand a word you're saying. Yeah. And so it's really interesting as you climb this self-improvement, self-investment, I call it participating in your own rescue. Once you start participating in your own rescue, your whole world changes.
That is super. That's amazing. That's really, really, I love it. So one of the questions, I'm Israeli, and I'm very new to the States and the way things are working in the States. And luckily, I've never been in jail. But the stories that I hear are right. Yeah, I've been on trial in the military in Israel, but never in jail. So no experience. But what I'm hearing is that once you are in jail, your life is over. There is always a record. Nobody's going to hire you. They're always looking at your past. You're always being judged for mistake that you did when you were a teenager. How do you flip that? Because that's, I think, kind of like messes up with so many people's minds.
That's victimhood. If you believe that, you believe you believe you're a victim. Like, I'm a victim. I'm never going to do this. I'm not, because of them, because of them, because of them, because of someone else, because of this, because of that. And there is thousands of examples of the exact opposite. It's never too late. Yeah. It's never too late. I mean, luckily mine was 30 years ago, and it was 2 misdemeanors. So 2 felonies, it would have been a little different situation for me. But I was involved with this networking and entrepreneurial group for a few years, and there was 3 people in there who had committed murder in their past for various reasons. Yeah. And I'm not here to judge, and I wasn't there, but they did their time between 12 and 18 years, and they got out, and they have now become successful entrepreneurs. They give back to their communities. They help mentor young men. One has become like almost a world famous author and artist. The other's become a technology person. And so no matter what circumstances you've been in, I'm gonna say some pretty harsh things here, regardless of whether you've made massive mistakes or things that have happened to you. Think the worst of the worst, things that happen to us as people. We can put our minds there. No matter what you've been through, what's happened to you, or what you've done, it's never too late to literally look in the mirror and say, I want something different. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to be this way anymore. I don't want to have these thoughts in my head anymore. And you can take baby steps every single day just to get a little bit better than you were yesterday. And you'll look up 365 days from now, and your life will change. But the only power we have as human beings on earth, we like to think we're in control. We're not in control of anything. The only thing we truly control in life is our choices.
Yep.
With our choices are our mindset and attitude. And if we make the choice, if we're tired enough and sick enough to want something massive change in our life, that's where we can choose to double down, invest of ourselves with baby steps every day to become better than we were yesterday.
And so hopefully we don't have to reach top bottom.
Rock bottom. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully
that's the goal.
Before we get there, just know you can make a different choice today, right? Before you hit rock bottom. Jennifer, do you want to hop in? Yes, no, just nod. No? Okay, you're good. Do you want to hop in conversation? Hold on a second. There you go. Hi, lady.
Hey,
Can
Jennifer,
you
I
hear me?
can't see you, but hello.
Hi, I'm trying to figure out, okay,
Oh, I can see you now.
video. Oh, you can. Okay, I'm new to this technology, as Yifat knows. No, I'm just impressed, and I'm happy for you that you have overcome so much, and what a great journey.
Oh,
I
thank you.
was reflecting on my own experience, I think, as everybody is. Today I went to Home Depot, which I often do, and I just really lost my temper. And I'm thinking about how what you're saying just really has to apply to the micro moments in life. And I think that that's how we, I'm watching I'm just observing myself how losing my temper just really drained my own energy. And it wasn't loving towards other people, and it was just frustrated. And I think that the COVID stuff, like there's an underlying, just an underlying anxiety that we all are experiencing. And I watched that come out in myself today. And I just appreciate what you're saying about being forgiving and being forgiving of other people, being forgiving of ourselves, and surrounding yourself with good people. And I think I'm happy to say I do a fair amount of that. Yifat being one of those positive people, but yeah, no, I just appreciate your journey. So I would love to know. I joined the call a little bit late. I'd love to know a little bit more specifically, like where you were and what you did, and how did you get to the ivory tower, and then how did you learn that wasn't where you were happy. And because I think a lot of people, when they have the stuff and they have the girl on their arm and they have the power, they think they're happy, and sometimes it takes people time to realize they're not happy. And how did that happen for you?
Yeah, we went through the journey pretty specifically, but it started for me with I started noticing in myself the cravings for power and more money, and it was more. It was title, it was prestige, and you missed it. But I came from humble beginnings, and then overcame certain things, and just really worked my way all the way up to the top. Probably in the most unhealthy ways. I was that guy from Yee who turned the lights off last wind. You know that guy that we were like, oh my god. And then I also was the arrogant guy, cool guy, important guy, couldn't show weakness guy, would never ask for help guy. And really none of that was Tommy. None of that was Tommy. It was this little insecure little boy just wanting to be seen, heard, and loved. And for me, it became these cravings and addiction for more. And I just wanted to be validated and valued. And again, I think making money is not a bad thing. I think it's actually a wonderful thing, especially if you want to make great impact in this world. But for me, I was looking to fill a void I had inside, where I didn't feel lovable, I didn't feel enough, and I didn't feel worthy. And I felt like with all these shiny things and toys, I was going to be happy. And when that didn't fill me up, I turned to everything else. And so for me, and this is what I'm hoping for most people, it doesn't take a rock bottom moment. Some people call it a spiritual transformation. I call it rock bottom. Where it doesn't take waking up in a ditch, staring up at the blue sky and wondering how did I get here, and why am I so unhappy, and why I'm on the bridge of death and losing my wife and all this other stuff. And I hear it every single day in my one-on-one coaching and mastermind practices. I hear it every single day. And so for me, I knew there was something in me that was better. I knew I was unhappy. I knew if I didn't change, I would literally die. And so I said, enough is enough. And that was my catalyst. And then when I started tasting what I call the nectar, when I started, I did the hard work and started practicing the gratitude and doing the readings and doing the meditation and journaling and hiring a coach and hiring a mentor and surrounding myself with really positive, loving people. The way I felt, the way I stood, the way I talked, the way I ate, the smell in the air, everything started being just tasting a little bit better for me. And that became my new addiction. And so that's how I actually got into this business, is because so many people reached out to me for help that were bankers, lawyers, entrepreneurs, corporate executives. They're saying, hey, man, you seem peaceful. You seem happy. You seem more content than you've ever been, but you didn't give up your ambition or drive. And that's how I got into this. and just watching people flourish in life, from their relationships to their mindset to their business. It's literally been just the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. But for me, it was just this: when I tasted the sweet nectar of goodness and love and happiness and peace of mind, I never wanted to go back. And so for the last 10 or
Was
11 years, I've been a craftsman at all things self-development.
Is there a moment you remember that happened? I mean, I know from my own experience that it's really it's a matter of putting your brain into that place of having the experience, like you say, of tasting the nectar. And so, do you remember for yourself, like, was there a particular moment?
The first moment started when I was in that ditch looking up at the blue sky. And I was like, I didn't know how to fix it or what it felt like or what it smelled like. I was just like, I need something different. And so there was a burning desire for change. And I didn't care what I had to do. I honestly, at that point, truth, I didn't care if my wife left me and the firm fired me. I just didn't care. I just wanted to be better and more happy. But I remember, and this is kind of a cute story, is my wife and I had been going through hundreds of wedding counselors. And after about the second or third session at every wedding counselor, or not wedding counselor, marriage counselors, relationship counselors, not
Yeah,
either
I
one
was
of those.
like, about how many times do you want to get married to the same woman?
Yeah, sorry. Relationship counselors. But it's funny, after about the second or third session, every time they're like, Heather, why don't you stay at home? And Tommy, why don't you come? So they saw something in me that wasn't quite right. You know, I was guarded. I had all this armor up. I couldn't understand why I was even there. And one of those counselors said this: Tommy, there's this place in Tennessee that can do more for you in 7 days than I can do in 10 years. And it's called on-site workshops. And I remember being there. So what they literally do is cut you open for 4 days in all these graceful, beautiful, powerful, impactful, and non-invasive ways, both in a group and in a small settings. And I remember the first time as a 36-year-old man and coming from violence and abuse, I didn't cry. I didn't show emotion. I was tough as hell. But I remember about that fourth day, I broke down. I probably had cried for like 2.5 hours because I could feel, I could smell, I could see, and I saw this light. And it was almost like a God experience or this universal thing. I can't even describe it. I really can't. That was the first time I knew that I was exactly where I needed to be and I was doing the right things. And it was overwhelming. And it was the first time I saw myself as human. And it's also the first time I saw myself as not being alone.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
felt like this freak that had all these deep, dark desires and insecurities and fears and needs and wants. And I felt like I was alone in all of these things. I felt unusual and different. And it didn't matter how successful I was or how cool the things I had was. I always felt alone. And at that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. And I knew a lot of people were struggling with the same thing. And I think that also helped validate me extremely well as well.
Wow.
Nice, thank you.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things that is coming out of COVID is that we realize that, how important it is to belong somewhere, right? And to be with people. And we're starting to use technology to connect and not just to broadcast and be like, me, right? We're using Zoom to kind of like just have conversations with each other, which we didn't before. Before it was all marketing and broadcast and buy my shit, right? And now people are becoming a lot more interested in those conversations because we don't have them because we're all locked in our houses, which is a fantastic time, right? To practice exactly what you're preaching. This is the best time to, dive in, take 10 minutes in the morning, realize who you are, feel something. I did a 10-day Vipassana meditation. Have you heard of that?
I have.
Have you done it?
I haven't done the 10-day, but I've done Vision Quest and Silent Retreat. I've done a lot of things similar, but that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when there's no input, right, your own shit starts coming out because there's nothing coming in, right? You start feeling and participate, and a lot of people like myself, I wasn't ready for that at that time. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's in there. Can't deal with it right now. Is there something else? But when you start with like smaller steps, like you're saying, 10 minutes a day, and then just feel and something changes and you follow the feeling, it really is beautiful what happens at the end of the year. So
you just explained COVID, by the way.
What's
so
that?
What's happening? You just explained what's happening with so many people in COVID because I'm dealing with it. My clients, I'm dealing with it. My philanthropic work is what happens is there's whether it's our jobs, having beers, exercising 4 hours a day. There's all these things we do to numb and to make ourselves feel valid and important. And
Yeah.
it can be from healthy to unhealthy and everything in between. But we don't like sitting in a room with ourselves because we don't love ourselves, we don't respect ourselves, and we don't like what I call the inner critic,
Yeah.
that voice inside. I call it the Tommy go round.
Yeah.
But people don't have that connection in that community, and now if you're with somebody, they're on top of you, and that's just as bad. Or if you're single, you're really in the room alone, and there's nothing to escape you from having to look at those deep, dark places in yourself. And I think that's why so many people are struggling mentally and emotionally. And I'm telling you, there's YouTubes, there's seminars, there's books like Legendary. There's so many things that give you simple tools and techniques to help you fall in love with yourself, to help you become your best friend, to help you kill that inner critic in your head, and ultimately develop that unconditional love and self-respect for yourself. But it takes work and time. And I think so many people feel a lack of control, and they're having to sit in the room with themselves. And you and I both know, Yifat, if we talk to anyone else like we talk to ourselves, no one would like us.
Right.
No one would like us.
Yep.
And so it's just fascinating. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not cool enough. I'm not important enough. I'm not successful enough. I got a bump on my head, blah, 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 blah. And so we all have it. We all do it. It's just how much we can minimize it and how much can we start loving and respecting ourselves. And I shout this message from the rooftops.
It's important. It's very, very important. So do you think that after, COVID is going to pass, what do you think humanity is going to be afterwards, after sitting in our houses, facing ourselves or escaping ourselves? What do you think is going to happen?
It's what we choose it to be. And it's not what our politicians choose it to be. Mm-hmm. If you look at the news right now, that's all about division and fear, yeah. Us versus them, my view versus your view, and it's meant to sell advertising. It's what we as human beings choose our futures to be. We can be the absolute greatest community ever existence. We can come out of this with love, compassion, servitude. And just think about this. If each one of us learn to unconditionally, as best we can, we'll never get there. We'll never be perfect. Like Jennifer was saying, we get angry. We go out of our integrity zone sometimes. We do things we regret. But the more we do this work, we forgive ourselves. We know, hey, we look ourselves in the mirror. We hold ourselves accountable to it. We learn from it, and we move forward with love and respect for ourselves. Yeah. So it starts with, if we come out of this with a little bit more love, a little bit more respect, a little bit more self-confidence and mastering our mindset. And then if we turn to some compassion, servitude, and empathy just for one other person, each of us, all 7 or 8 billion of us, this world would be a dramatically better place. If we start looking at macro issues, food, inequality, violence, social justice, we shut down. But in all of our communities and all of our tribes, if we just work on ourselves and make one other person's that day's life a little bit better, we become the miracle for one other person through service, through compassion, through empathy. And if we all did that at least once a day, we wouldn't give 2 flying shits what all these politicians think, because we'd be making this world a better place.
It's true. And
it's what we choose it to be.
It's true. And it's very interesting to see, right? Like right now I'm watching, there's 2 different types of conversations happening. The fear one and the opportunity empowerment one, right? And I'm always wondering, like, which one people are leaning towards more, which one people will practice more, right? So that we can get out in a better way.
The yin to the yang, right? That's universal, true. Ancient truths. And you've seen times in the world where the darkness was brighter than the lightness. I mean, in the 19th and the 20th century, oh my God, what human beings could do to each other is incredible in the name of their religion, their God, their power, their economic status. It's crazy. But we as human beings, we have the power if we truly think we have the power. We have the power of choice. We have the power of influence. We have the power to lead. But we have to lead and influence ourselves first so that we can lead and influence others.
So let's finish with this. Let's finish with your book, right? So, yay! Wall Street Journal, USA Today, best-selling author. What's in the book that can actually help people move from wherever they are right now to feeling legendary? I don't know if you become, but at least you feel like one, right?
Yeah, I think right now, so it covers all facets. I'll give you really high level of the topics. It's a great, easy read with simple tools that you find your flavor of the thing that you're working on right now, and you apply that simple tool in your life. And over time, you will see that that issue or that insecurity or that thing you're working on get better. And so it covers from everything from finding your purpose, because we all have a purpose here on earth and it changes during the season of our life. But if you feel unfulfilled and asking yourself why you're here, it covers purpose. It covers time management and how do we reconquer our time and get rid of that busy bug. It covers financial confidence and freedom. It covers building your network. It covers mastering your mindset, the things we talk about, cultivating unconditional love and self-respect for yourself, building intimate relationships with others, and everything in between. And it's a simple playbook and tools that I've applied in my life for 11 years. I've seen it applied to hundreds of my clients, whether it's in a group coaching session, a one-on-one session, masterminds, or on stage. And so I've seen it have exponential components. And so what it is a simple playbook to build us as better human beings so that we can go serve and impact the world better. And so right now, because of the time we're in, and I think financial confidence and mindset is such a struggle for so many people, I'm giving away that chapter for free, as well as the Mastering Your Mindset chapters. And so you'll put this in the notes, but it's TommyBreedlove.com
I believe
/gifts. Yeah, there you go. /gifts.
Yep.
We're giving those 2 chapters away to give back and to help people through this time. But if you read books like this, and there's so many of them more, all you got to do is take a little bit of action every day, depending on what you're struggling with. Is it financial confidence? Is it your mindset? Is it I'm scared all the time? Is it I'm judging all the time? Is it, hey, I need to conquer my time a little bit better. I feel out of control. I feel like I'm too busy, and busy is a sickness.
Yeah.
Or do I, am I looking to change my network? Or there's so many different wonderful things in the book that help you just be a little bit better. And over time, if you do the work and you have a burning desire for it, it can really improve your life.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, this book is available right here to the right of the video. So go to am.ik.com. You'll see a little banner. You can go there. You can grab your free chapters, fall in love with Tommy's writing, and then buy the book on Amazon. So thank you so much for being here. This is fantastic. I love your vision of the world, and I really appreciate the honesty and transparency. There's a lot of things that people don't want to hear, but we have to break that eggshell by ourselves, right? Otherwise, we die. So thank you so much. And where can people find you aside from Amazon? Where else can they find you?
I would say bookstores in the airport, but none of us are going to bookstores at the airport. You can follow me on social media at Tommy Breedlove. It's kind of cool. We're going on my professional Facebook page, Tommy Breedlove or Legendary Choice. We're going live every Wednesday from it's going to be 10:30 to 11:30 Eastern time to teach some of the tools in the books. So that's going to be fun. You can see me on all the social media networks at Tommy Breedlove, and we're always putting light and goodness and love and also simple things that you can apply in your life and inspiration. We want to be a light in a dark world. And so one of the cool things that you can do is log in on my professional Facebook page live and it'll always be there for you to come back to, but live every Wednesday, every Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:30. We're going to be teaching some of the stuff in the book.
Who knows what day it is anyway, right?
Oh, I know. I was thinking, it's actually what I was thinking. I was like, I don't even know what day it is. So I hope it's Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:30.
One of these days, hop on in, click that bell so you get notified when he's live. And welcome to the live streaming world. That's fantastic to see you there. That's awesome. Excited.
You want me to tell you something funny? Yifat, they're giving that guy in Boston so much a hard time about having his suit on above him and his shorts on or his boxer shorts, just to be fully transparent.
Oh.
Nice shirt, workout shorts, because I'm going to go work out after this.
It's so much easier to be a guy, right? Like we have to put a face on. You guys put on a shirt, comb your hair, and then you get comments like, "He looks like John Travolta." I'm like, yeah, okay. So thanks so much. Guys, find Tommy on all social, on Amazon, and maybe when we open in Barnes & Nobles.
There you go.
And have a fantastic week. Thanks so much.
You fought. Nothing but love for you. Keep being a light in this world, girl. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. And how do you end it? Carpe diem?
Carpe diem, beautiful
Carpe
humans.
diem.